Humanity is going through difficult moments like never before. We have lost our loved ones with a glimpse of an eye like never before. Our lives have been affected dramatically like never before. Our relationship with our Creator will never be the same like never before. Our priorities in life are dictated to us like never before. Our freedom is no longer in our hands like never before, and life will never be the same after these difficult moments. Join our live Ramadan show like never before with Hatim Al-Abdissalam and engineer Muhammad Farouk on Oman FM, your nation station, every Saturday till Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. to discuss our lives like never before.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The 10th of January 2020. It's 4 a.m. early morning when we first heard the announcement on national TV about the death of our beloved father Sultan Qaboos. Although we were all expecting this news one day or the other, but in reality our hearts were not on the same page with our minds. It was a difficult reality to live. For those around the world who might not understand the reason of our grief this way, let me tell you about the Sultan who won the hearts of the millions around the world. Sultan Qaboos bin Said is a one-of-a-kind, a generous leader who was an icon of wisdom and strategy. Now that he has passed away, we are able to understand and unveil some of his unique strategies, decisions and actions which were far-sighted and built on wisdom and brilliance. I am yet to come across someone with such insight and an eye for details. I heard from the news reports that the Sultan used to work 16 to 18 hours a day. I sit and wonder, why would someone so powerful and so influential work all these long hours while he has an army of people working under him, and he could have delegated many of the tasks to them and enjoy the fruits of being a sultan. This only indicates the level of dedication he had for his country and for his people. In one of his early TV interviews in the 70s, which was broadcasted on an Egyptian television, the interviewer asked him, "Your Majesty, what is your personal dream or wish?" The Egyptian interviewer said the Sultan responded in a thick, mature voice that was an indication of wisdom despite his young age. He said, "I don't have personal dreams or wishes. I only have the dream of Oman and my people." I don't believe that any one of us as Omanis or citizens on this land would be able to match the love and dedication the Sultan had for Oman. I always hear a phrase in the media that has become very common after the death of His Majesty the Sultan: the Qaboos School. This is a very unique phrase which has become very popular, and indeed it is a school in leadership, a school in wisdom, a school in strategic thinking. What qualified His Majesty the Sultan to be a universal school where the entire world is not only learning from, but they are astonished on how it was formed in such an elegant way, and it will surely be a legacy for generations to come. Let's go back to the night of the gloomy clouds when suddenly the entire country was paralyzed. Tanks were all over the main road. There was deadly silence in the street. You could actually hear the breathing of the soldiers. Until this moment, people didn't really know what was going on. Some of us thought that we might be in a state of war due to the political instability in the region. I would honestly want to salute our military and police forces for their bravery in keeping the country stable in these difficult moments, despite their emotional instability due to their knowledge of what was really going on and just concealing it in their hearts. They stood in the streets from 12 midnight till the moment His Majesty was buried next morning. His Majesty had high respect for the armed forces and the police, and he always gave them a special attention, and this surely paid off when he passed away. They didn't even have a chance to grieve like everyone else and be part of this dark day. I was watching the entire funeral since it left the gates of the palace till the burial rituals of His Majesty was completed. I noticed something strange, as most of the soldiers on the streets were facing the people and they were giving the road their backs. I could see from the expressions on their faces that they desperately wanted to see His Majesty's funeral before it disappears forever. But the call of duty comes first. They were very professional and loyal to their national duty to protect and serve. I also admire the media presenters who were very brave to narrate the entire journey of the funeral with such elegance and professionalism. But among them all, I really admire the bravery of the announcer who was given the most difficult task to read out the announcement of the death of His Majesty the Sultan. May Allah have mercy on his soul.
Amen.
I truly envy those who had the honor to spend the last moment with His Majesty. Among them are his personal medical team and his security guards and his official companions. I wonder what was his last word. What did he tell them about the future of Oman? I urge those who are in the government to take the initiative to document every moment of the life of His Majesty. It is to be the reference for the coming generations who would only hear about this great leader and not live the legacy the way we lived it. We are among the lucky ones to be part of this legacy, the legacy that changed the course of history. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to your program Never Before with me, Hatim al-Abdis Salam, and my dear brother, Engineer Muhammad Farooq. This is a live show, and today we are talking about a legend never forgotten. For sure, Brother Muhammad, we have started this series for 2020 of some of the incidents that happened to us where they have never happened before. And for us as Omanis and citizens of this country, we have never before experienced the loss of a leader. It was something very difficult to swallow, although we believe in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the creed of Allah, and all of us are going to depart from this world one way or the other. But the emotional attachment with our beloved Sultan Qaboos bin Saeed, may Allah rest his soul in peace, is very strong, and we can never forget the good deeds, the efforts, the dedication that he put into this country. We cannot thank him enough for what he did to Oman. For those who lived in the 60s and 70s, they would know what I'm talking about. They have witnessed the difference in the country when we didn't have any roads or hospitals or infrastructure or schools. And after His Majesty the Sultan ruled Oman in 1970, he worked step by step towards his goal to make his people live comfortably. And this was addressed in many of his speeches since the beginning, that I'm going to make sure and work very hard and fast to make my people live a comfortable life. Muhammad, how long have you been living in Oman?
Alhamdulillah, I've been blessed to enjoy the peace and prosperity of this land for over a decade now. And just to share a personal story, my first interaction with the late Sultan Qaboos, may Allah have mercy on his soul, was when he visited one of the universities in the neighboring country.
Yes.
And I happened to be a freshman at that university. So that was my first experience of being near to that great person.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. For sure, Muhammad, there is a lot to be said, and a lot has been said in the past month since the death of our beloved Sultan, and the media has worked day and night and has broadcasted so many shows on the good deeds that the Sultan has done in his life. But we are here today to talk about the way forward, what is to be done. How do we preserve this legacy? How do we continue this legacy? How do we work hard, to sustain this effort that was put by His Majesty and the vision that he put for this country? And how do we support our current leadership, Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, and be a pillar in the change in Oman in the coming periods, inshallah. But nevertheless, we need also to go back and touch on some of the things that was done by the Sultan. One of the things that really touched my attention is that dedication, the dedication and the hard work the Sultan has put in the past 49 years to build this country. And this is for us to take home with us, especially in these difficult moments where we are affected by the pandemic. And the phase after the pandemic is going to be very important for us to stand on our feet again, to support the economy, to support the government. It is not the time for us to think of ourselves, to be selfish, but it is the time to show our true spirit as Omanis and citizens, and to work hard and dedicate our lives for this country.
Correct.
For sure, Muhammad, we all ate from the fruits of this country, and we were born and raised in this country. We studied in this country. We were treated in this country. Our families were taken care of in this country, and it's the time for us to pay back. And no matter what we do, we can never pay back what has been done to us from the bounties that we have received. So it is the time to be dedicated. And I know the previous phase, Muhammad, we might have been taking it easy when it comes to dedication, whether it is in our work, in our business, in our affairs. But we should honestly take the late Sultan as a role model in the dedication and the time that he put. I was really amazed to know the number of hours that he spent working and going through details. Some of the things, one of the interviews that I've listened to during that period was talking about when they receive an international delegate. The day before, His Majesty the Sultan goes by himself and makes sure everything is in place, everything is set up. This is an amazing thing. Normally you would
Just delegate.
delegate and tell people what to do, and that's it. But going by himself and supervising and making sure everything is in place. You can even witness in the some of the videos of him in the 70s, where he used to go from one school to another to supervise and see what students are learning, and are they understanding or not, are they having a comfortable environment to learn or not. This is just amazing.
Just to touch a little bit about on the topic of leadership, I had the privilege of delivering a workshop on leadership, and that made me do a bit of a research, even though I have already been through some other leadership courses. And there are few things that are common regardless of where you read about leadership.
Yes.
First, the leader must have a vision. Okay, and here I would like to highlight that when the late Sultan came into power, he was only 29 years old.
Yes.
Okay,
so relatively young.
Yeah, so at that point in time, having a vision for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and now we are living the fruits of that.
Yes.
Okay, second thing, the leader should be able to communicate that vision.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
And we see the proof of that as the consistent message being delivered over decades through all the official channels.
Yes.
So it was not like one person in an official capacity was saying something, and then after a few quarters somebody else was coming and changing the policies and saying something else.
Consistency.
Yeah. Fruit of that is that we experience stability and prosperity.
Yes, because sudden change, disrupts people.
Yes.
And
yes,
it creates a chaos.
Yeah, it results in turmoil, and then it throws you back in terms of the progress, because you have to revisit stuff and then start over from where the other person had left. The third thing is that he must create trust, so he can communicate that vision and get a buy-in from the followers.
Yes.
And the proof of that we see is the progress Oman experienced in a number of decades. And he not only surrounded himself with sincere and trusted people, but he used to visit the country every year.
So he does these site visits. He
exactly.
goes, he talks to the people
to get first-hand information. Yes. And set an example, so hopefully others will also do when he's not around. And this is very powerful, and in my knowledge it's quite unique for a leader, despite having a busy schedule and long working hours, like you mentioned, day after day and year after year.
Yes.
And not taking a break, and then making time for his people, so he can go and be with them and try to listen to their issues and then get solutions for them. So that was the part of creating trust. So if we look at these three yardsticks, that makes him an amazing leader, especially in this day and age when we can look at other leaders in the region as well as globally.
Yes.
Okay, and then looking at how much progress he delivered towards the country and the people of the country.
Yes. I would like also to touch upon one aspect of the life of the Sultan, when he dedicated the biggest portion of his attention to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And he always emphasized this in many occasions, that the people come first.
Yeah.
And developing the manpower. As you would see in comparison in some other nations, where you find people are more focused on the infrastructure and the buildings, and very little attention is given to the people.
Mm-hmm.
In Oman, the citizens had a lot of attention in terms of education and health. And I would like to touch upon education, which is a very important investment someone does in his life.
Mm-hmm.
People can be deprived of a lot of things, but they cannot be deprived of two things: faith and education. These are the blood that runs into the veins of a human being. And with education, ignorance disappears, and people can understand that vision. It was important for His Majesty to work hard in educating his people so that they could understand the vision and walk along with that vision and that change that is set for the country.
Exactly.
Because just imagine if you have a vision and you have a plan, and then the people who you are doing it for, they don't understand it. They would oppose you, they would reject it, they would not follow the steps that you set for them, and so on. But with education and understanding, and this pays off now when he has passed away, people are following that plan.
Exactly.
Although His Majesty has departed. So the concern on people is good. The second thing that I want to say, Muhammad, is unity.
Right.
As we know, in Arabia, mostly it's a consistent of tribe. It's a tribal community, and you have a lot of tribes, all of them with different aspirations, with different understanding, with different education level, and
different culture
and hopes and everything else. And to get them all to be on the same page is not an easy job.
Right.
Yeah, because take an example, Muhammad, in the office area, where you have people of different nationalities or from different regions, from different, and clashes happen all the time.
Correct.
Yeah, and not only that, even in our own household, where two spouses are getting into conflict because of the difference of their backgrounds, of the difference of their cultures. Now, if you look at the biggest scale as a country,
becomes more challenging.
It becomes more challenging, and how His Majesty was able to bring together all these people and make them as one, unite them, and make them not only united, but make them love one another, make them defend one another, make them speak highly of one another. And I think this is one of the biggest achievement in the region. In today's world, Muhammad, in our unstable region, until today, many of the countries are not able to bring people to be on the same page.
Correct.
You still find very, very silly disputes among people, very tribal, ignorant acts that are still being committed every single day, and it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job.
No, it's pretty amazing that he focused primarily on two axes, or I should say three. One was the country, so that's internal. The other one was the people, that's internal again, and the third one was external. So not only throughout his life he followed a constant policy of improving and enhancing the country, not only in the region but on an international arena.
Yes.
Bringing it out of isolation towards a global stage, and also getting it advanced in terms of institutions and infrastructures. But like you mentioned rightly, he also focused on the people in terms of education, healthcare, providing them the right facilities and tools so they can enhance to the next level. And it said that the life expectancy used to be like 50 years or so, and now it's like 77 plus.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so these are just some of the yardsticks or the results that we can actually see in terms, like if you want to see somebody's KPIs, how well he delivered. So this is an amazing record.
Muhammad, the next point is working in silence. And I would like to say in the beginning that this is a very Islamic concept, where when you give out charity, your left hand should not know what your right hand has given out.
Correct.
Yeah, And this is not only in charity, this is also in good deeds. And the late Sultan, may Allah have mercy on his soul, worked very hard in silence, and he achieved a lot in silence. He supported many nations around the world, and only after he departed we started hearing of the major projects that he had, the contributions that he had, the institutions that he supported, the families that he raised globally. You know, it's a very proud moment for a citizen in Oman, or a national in Oman, to know that we had such a caring leader who cared for other nations. And this has not only stopped when he passed away, it continued with our current Sultan Haytham bin Tariq in his initiatives and his support to the nations outside of Oman. One of the great examples is when the corona pandemic was it started spreading. Some of the students, the Arab students, were stuck in China, and he sent His Majesty Sultan Haytham sent a special delegation or a plane to China to pick up these students and send them back to their country. This is something to be proud of, that we don't only think about ourselves, but we think about all our brothers and sisters in this world. And if we have the chance to help one another, then this is the time to help one another.
Exactly.
And the pandemic, Muhammad, I think yesterday we were discussing about this, that a lot of people might lose their jobs. A lot of people might be struggling now, not being able to meet the ends. Me and you, Alhamdulillah, Muhammad, we have food on our table, we have shelter, we still have our jobs, and we can make a difference. One person can make a difference, Muhammad.
Right.
So it is the time to stand firm and support our brothers and sisters out there. If you know of someone who has lost their job, don't wait for them to come and ask you.
Exactly.
Don't wait for them to come and beg. You know, save the dignity of people. You know, work in secrecy. You know, do goodness for the sake of goodness, not for the sake of people to say, oh, Muhammad or Hatim is generous. Do it for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do it because we enjoy the fruit of this country, and it's time for us to help our brothers and sisters. And it doesn't make a difference where they're coming from. Everyone needs to eat. Everyone needs to be supported.
Right.
So do not be selfish at this point of time. Follow the footsteps of our leadership. Follow the footsteps of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who taught us this, that we should always think of our brothers. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, حب لأخيك ما تحب لنفسك. Love for your brother
what you love for
what
yourself.
you love for yourself.
Yeah, since you brought the issue of bringing the students from the from China, I'd like to add, as a matter of fact, I would like to thank Sultan Haytham bin Tariq for arranging special flights for expats who were here and they wanted to go back from my country, and he facilitated that. And our local mission, thanked him. There's a video also on the internet which is making rounds. So this is something that we really appreciate, and we thank him from the bottom of our heart.
The next point, Muhammad, is create a culture of an Omani. And no two people will disagree that Omanis have a special nature in the way they conduct themselves, whether it is on a personal level or whether it is on social media or internationally also. And this was not the case maybe in the past, but we are all unified by this identity of an Omani. An Omani who is calm, who is quiet, who is generous, who is not interfering in other people's business, who does not curse, who does not get angry. It's a unified culture that was built around the personality also of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said, and people looked up at him, and they wanted to be like him. So they followed his footsteps. He never interfered in other countries' affairs. He never cursed. He even for those who wronged him in one way or the other, he never said anything against them. And this taught us, gave us a practical example of how do we conduct ourselves in these circumstances. Before we continue, Muhammad, I think we have our guest for today in a call, Dr. Wael Al-Harrasi. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Wael. Fine, how are you today? Ramadan Kareem, Dr. Wael. Ameen. Ameen. Dr. Wael, thank you for being part of the show and joining us today on this important topic. We are talking about a legend who is never forgotten. And to start off, Dr. Wael, how can we label a person as a legend?
Thank you for having me, first of all, Brother Hatem. A legend is someone who managed to live a legacy and leave a legacy. Someone who had a sense of purpose and pursued that purpose no matter what, overcome challenges, and was able to live and leave an impact during his life, and the impact still is felt, is seen, is experienced after their life. And if you take the best of people who have left legacies, the likes of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who left a wonderful legacy. And there are also his companions who left excellent, legacies. We have excellent politicians, leaders, scientists. All of these people have pursued something very important, and they left us something behind even after they've left. So those are the legends, and those are the people who lived legacies and left us their legacies.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Wael.
Doctor, this is Muhammad. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Brother Muhammad.
Nice to hear your voice after a while.
Jazakallah khair, likewise.
Okay. What did the wisdom of the late Sultan add to the people of Oman?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Okay. What did the wisdom of the late Sultan added to the people of Oman?
Well, this is a question that cannot be answered in 2 or 3 minutes. He has left a lot for people to follow. Let us not forget that he took power, or assumed power, at the age of 29.
Correct.
So that in itself is something that we should reflect upon. That someone who is as young as he was took a country that was torn apart. The country was not unified. There were still at that time 2 passports for the citizens of Oman. Conflicts at the south of Oman. None of our borders were officially signed off and agreed upon. That is in itself is something that was daunting, and would definitely be daunting on anyone, let alone a 29-year-old man. So he was not fazed by all of those challenges. Oman economically did not do well either at that time, and he had a vision, and he knew what to do. He chose people to be around him. He surrounded himself with people. He understood the value of the Omanis abroad, and he reached out to them. So understanding that success is not achieved single-handedly, but it's achieved always collectively
Right.
with the right people. And that's why he reached out to people outside Oman to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Now, to put it in a practical perspective, Dr. Wa'il, what can the young people of Oman do to continue this legacy?
This is a very important question, and as I've said before in some of my talks and speeches, is there are 5 things I would like always to summarize. 5 main things that we can take away from and learn from the character of the late Majesty Sultan Qaboos.
Yes.
Number 1 is our faith, Iman Billah. Our belief is our strongest weapon. Our beliefs, our religion, our sets of values, and the belief in Allah is our best companion in every journey that we take in life.
Yes.
And we should never undertake anything or undergo any journey in life without it being our companion, the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he has managed to build a lot of masjids, not only build masjids for prayers, but he understood the importance to link the youth with the Quran. He established competitions for the memorization and understanding of Quran throughout the country.
Yes.
So number 1 is faith, and we need to hang on to our faith and strengthen our faith every single day to be able to achieve our own legacies and maintain the legacies left to us. Number 2, every single person, youth or the elderly, anyone who is who wants to build the country, needs to be educated. So we need to focus on education.
Yes.
Faith, Iman, education is something that His Majesty focused on, not only leaving a mark for the nation, but also naming any institution that is concerned with education or religious institutions to be named after him. Yeah? We say Jami' Sultan Qaboos Al-Akbar. We see institutes of His Majesty to teach Arabic, and there are the different chairs of education in different universities across the world. So this is very important, the focus on education. Number 3, every single individual needs to have a vision, a sense of purpose. And with that vision and proper planning, they need to have the strength to execute those visions and to execute those plans with very high ambition.
Yes.
And with determination. And that's what we have seen. His Majesty brought the country from 50 years ago from a disseminated country into a unified one. An economy that was almost non-existent to a very prosperous one until the 1990s, which is just within 20-25 years. Yeah. Number four is with knowledge, with faith, with proper vision. We also need to have proper attitudes. And he had the best of attitudes. He was very glorious, magnificent in the way he carried himself. And I think it is part of his wisdom. And to have that wisdom is very important if you would like to achieve great things. No one can achieve greatness or leave a legacy without wisdom, without the right attitudes. And finally, once you have all of that, we need to work very hard. We need to work smart, and we need to work hard. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who strive for us, we will guide them. We will show them our way. We'll show them our path, and we'll make it easy for them. So we need to work very hard. it's not only ambitions that are enough, but having an ambition and following it through with sweat and blood.
The final question for the day, Dr. Wa'il, how do you see Oman in the coming 5 years with the roadmap that we have, inshallah?
There is no denying that the coming days are difficult ones, but through challenges, great people are born. You will realize that there are great people surfacing who were not known before, but those have surfaced because of the challenges. And in the next 5 years, due to those challenges, I'm very optimistic that we will see greatness out of it. We will see a lot of great people coming out, bringing the country back to how it was and even better, inshallah. We are optimistic that our faith will not let us down, our youth will not let us down, the leadership will not let the country down. And we will see a lot of lessons learned from the past in the next 5 years, and good changes and very positive changes, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Dr. Wa'il Al-Harrasi, for your insight on this topic, and hope to hear from you soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for having me, and I wish you all and all the listeners a very happy Ramadan, a very blessed Ramadan. May Allah forgive all our sins. Ameen.
Ameen. Shukran.
Afwan.
Muhammad, mashallah, Dr. Wa'il has set down the steps which are very important and very effective, and they are not only to be implemented in the level of the state, but also on an individual level.
Yes.
If we go through them quickly and discuss some of them, he said number one is faith, belief and values. And this is very important because this entire universe is run by the Creator Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He has a special system for us to live on. And if we go astray and we go against that system, then calamity will happen to us and we will be among the losers. And at the same time, when it comes to values, people respect those who have values.
Correct.
So don't be like cattle, not having a particular value to live on. The second thing is education, which was witnessed from the beginning in the 70s. I remember we started off going to school in a tent. It was a very difficult moment, but today we see the fruits of that effort. So education, if it wasn't for education, we wouldn't be speaking here today, Muhammad.
Exactly. I want to add one point.
Yes.
And this is back in my undergrad days when I was in States getting my degree. One of the first interactions that I had with Omanis were the Omani students.
Yes.
Which at one point happened to be my roommates. And
this is in the United States?
Yes. And one of the things I remember is, and I really hold them in high respect, we're still friends, they are in good positions now, it's been a while, is that they were sent by the government, on scholarships. So not only did they learn the language first, but they did their bachelor's, their master's, their PhDs.
Subhanallah.
Okay, so just look at the amount of effort they pumped in, and they were highly disciplined, they were quiet, they were different than the other students who were from the neighboring countries. And I remember some of them were very regular at the local masjid, like they, taking your car out in that weather, whether it's cold or whatever, early in the morning, and driving all the way to the masjid. That takes commitment and that shows character. So, and I'm talking about youth.
Yes.
We were all young in our
20s,
maybe. Early 20s, yeah.
Yes. Subhanallah. Muhammad, the only thing I want to talk about to touch upon on education is that the young people today don't get the education for you to get a job. Get the education to be educated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't focus on passing the exams
and getting a piece of paper.
Getting a piece of paper, because that piece of paper has no value if there is no knowledge to back
it up,
that piece of paper.
Correct.
I find some students in colleges now, they have a full scholarship from the government. They choose to do it only the diploma and not do the degree. When I asked them why, they said, well, there is no jobs around, why should I do a degree? Or I don't need a degree, I'll just go and work in the police or the army and this. Let us not forget that education is not for you to get a job, it's for you to be educated and help yourself and help this country.
Exactly. I mean, education helps you create a better version of yourself. And the other thing we need to understand is that this is an ongoing process. It's part of what we call fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Yes.
So if we've already tied up a degree with a job, and you know the reports that we're reading and the experts we're listening to, there's going to be less and less of jobs in the future, and not just because of the economic situation that we're facing, but also because of the technology, which is making a lot of jobs obsolete.
Yes.
So
and that's the case everywhere in the world.
It's a global phenomena, yeah.
Yes.
So if we're going to tie up the objective of getting education with getting a job, then most of us are not going to get an education. We'll just quit.
Yeah, subhanallah. Having a vision on a personal level, Muhammad, it's important to have a vision, especially in the phase that is to come after the pandemic is over.
Right.
We have to have a solid vision for the way forward on an individual level, and also to align with the vision of the government as well.
I really like what the doctor just mentioned, that out of this, if you want to call it crisis or chaos, a lot of amazing people will rise.
Yes. Number 4 is attitude, and this should be like the pillar stone for an individual, a believer, a Muslim. Your attitude says a lot about you.
Yeah.
You know, you can be highly educated from a very good family and this, but the moment you speak, then you lose credibility.
You disappoint a lot of people.
So make sure you have the right attitude,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of good examples, like the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companions, and our late Sultan and our current Sultan, the way they conduct themselves, the way they speak, and this is especially sent to our brothers and sisters on social media. No, just because you're sitting behind a desk, nobody can see your face, it doesn't give you the right, to speak rubbish and have a bad attitude.
You know, somebody once told me something very nice. It keeps on popping up in my mind whenever this comes up. You know, education is like ta'lim.
Yes.
And attitude is like tarbiyah, you can say.
Yes.
So he said he was, I guess, my father's age, and he said, in my time, we had a lot of tarbiyah, but we didn't have too much ta'lim. And you guys have a lot of ta'lim, but you guys are missing out on tarbiyah. Yeah. So this is something we can all benefit from.
Subhanallah. And finally is the work hard and work smart. I think the honeymoon phase is gone.
It's pretty much over.
It's over. We're not going to enjoy the fruits that we used to enjoy in the time where the oil barrel was $100. We're no longer in that phase, so it is time to roll up our sleeves and work hard and work smart and depend on one another and be dedicated. Be dedicated. I think the thing that created the past generation that came before us is hard work.
Yeah,
that's why they made it. That's why they achieved a lot of
they
goals.
were rough and tough people.
Yeah, but now with everything being so easy and so available, and it makes us very soft, very vulnerable. And it reminds me of an important saying of Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab. He says, "Ikhshawshinu fa inna an-ni'mata la tadum." Be tough, because the blessings will never last forever.
And he used to ride the horse without a saddle.
And this is a practical example, Muhammad, of this saying of Sayyidina Umar. Now it is very tough. People who are used to having pasta and pizza, now they don't have even bread on the table. And this is practical. The pandemic is going all over the world. A lot of people are losing their jobs and this, and because they have not been tough enough and they're not used to live to the minimal, this becomes very difficult for them now.
Exactly, and you know, this time that we're approaching real quick is going to separate the boys from men.
Definitely.
And if one thing we can say is that the one who adapts quickly
Yes.
to this change is going to rise quicker than the rest.
One of the things that I also admired the late Sultan Qaboos bin Saeed is protecting the heritage.
Yeah.
The heritage and the culture. He always emphasized on the looks, how the Omani should look, the dress code, the way he conducts himself, even to the extent where using the Arabic language, he has his instructions to use the proper Arabic words in the media, to use the proper Arabic words in the billboards and announcements and everything else. And always he made sure to support and finance the heritage, the crafts, the local souks and markets, and the local products. Like I give an example, like these handicrafts that were supported by His Majesty's, like making the khanjar and the silver and jewelry and halwa. All these things would have disappeared if there was no interest and support from the leadership towards the heritage and the culture.
By the way, this was promoted internationally as well, regionally as well as internationally.
And if you see, Muhammad, a lot of the other Arab countries or GCC countries, they envy Oman for having this rich culture, this rich heritage, and it's very difficult to find it in other places. Omanis will always look like Omanis, will always speak like Omanis, will always have the hospitality and as per the heritage. And I ask and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve this heritage, and our young people not to be astonished by other cultures, other heritage,
adopt
and
the global culture.
and adopt the global culture.
Because it takes only one generation to lose your culture. And I was reading about one of the regional country that they were so concerned that they were even doing conferences on identity.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, so you know, I guess a lot can be learned from the effort made over here in Oman and the results of those efforts.
The next point, Muhammad, is peacemaking. Yeah, peacemaking internally and peacemaking externally also. The late Sultan played a huge role in bringing peace and stability to the region and internationally.
Correct.
And subhanallah, previously if you ask anyone about Oman, they would say we've never heard of it. But steadily and step by step, surely in total silence, Oman has proved that their strategy, their way they mediate between disputing parties have been so effective and has formed the shape of the region.
Yeah, what I really appreciate is that Oman, under the leadership of the late Sultan, always maintained an independent policy when it came to dealing with other countries. So they had an independent international policy which was not influenced by others. And again, we can see the results where, like you mentioned, they mediated between some countries which would not directly sit on the table themselves. And all these efforts were done in the interest of peace. So not only was he a peacemaker, but he was a peace promoter and a peacekeeper as well.
Yeah, this brings us to the next point, Muhammad: strength through tolerance and forgiveness. When you are in the position of power, Oman is an empire, has a very strong army, and the political position or the geographical location of Oman is very strategic and it's a source of power. But at the same time, the late Sultan Qaboos bin Saeed, may Allah rest his soul in peace, had this tolerance attitude towards those who offend the country, who are against the policies of Oman. He never spoke back to them in a negative way. And also his mercy when he showed forgiveness for those who wronged him, whether it is internally or externally other countries or other leaders who wronged him in one way or the other, he forgave them. And this is a pure quality of a believer, to be forgiving and having mercy towards those who are who wrong you in one way or the other. One of the most effective tools that His Majesty used is the speech. He always conducted these powerful speech, and if you notice, they were not constantly, they were not every month, every week. They came like once a year, which made everyone look forward,
wait for it,
wait for that moment to hear the wisdom of His Majesty. The way the words were planned, the way they were structured, the instructions, and the command of the language, and the way he addresses people when he said my brothers or my fellow citizens or my people, it is so emotional, it is so dynamic, it is so touching that people still listen to those speeches until today, and the words make sense today after reaping the fruit. And I would urge parents and people who are responsible of households to practice this with their children. I personally have learned a lot from my dad, because he used this system. He never punished us physically, but he spoke to us. He gave us words of wisdom to guide us in our life, and these words are the only things that we remember today from him, because of the effect and the powerfulness of these words.
I would like to add something here. I was doing research for this episode, and I found out some really amazing things. We often say that Allah blessed us with peace and prosperity in this land for such a long time.
Yes.
A lot of us, we call it our second home. In terms of peace, in one of the reports in 2019, it came out that Oman was ranked as fully free of terrorism. And in 2010, in another report, it came out that Oman was the most improved nation in the world over the last 40 years.
Subhanallah.
Okay, now these are international independent bodies that are vouching for the progress that took place under the late Sultan Qaboos. May Allah bless him.
I think, Muhammad, we have a lot to say, but we're running out of time. Finally, we just want to say that we had a legend living among us, and he is no longer with us physically, but his spirit and his deeds and his teachings and his wisdom is with us. It is upon us today, on our shoulders, to continue that legacy and to continue to thrive and work hard to build this nation and support our current leadership, Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. And may Allah have mercy on all of us and give us prosperity in this life and in the hereafter. With this, we end today's show. Muhammad, dear listeners, thank you very much for tuning in on our program Never Before. From me, Hatim Al Abdussalam, and brother Muhammad Farooq, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.